Hi, everyone. Today is the end of May. I will have a video on the regular maintenance in my hydroponic garden. First, let's quickly review the building components of that plant. We want to understand the reason behind why we want to do these particular works. This yellow pear tomato plant right in front of us is a good case study example. First, it has the root living inside the pipes, drinking the nutrient water. Second, we find the strong stem in the center, all the way from root to the very top. Third, the branch that holds all the leaves is named petiole. Leaves don't grow from stems, only from petioles. Then we can find tomato fruits appearing in clusters in these dedicated branches. In a hydroponics garden, watering is automated. We now discuss the work taking the most amount of my regular maintenance time. See the top of this branch? We call it growing tip, where the hormone named auxin is generated and promotes plant growth. In this joint between the center stem and the branch of leaves, there is a newly emerging growing tip. If we say the center stem is upward, petiole is horizontal, this new growing tip is at 45 degrees. We need to get rid of it. Having a closer look, we can easily find it is not a petiole. In a petiole, the branch starts from the center stem and grows horizontally. Leaves appear in the petiole in pairs. However, this unwanted new growing tip, new leaves are in the same direction as the stem. Why do we want to remove the new growing tip and only keep 2 or 3 growing tips for each plant? This is a branch obviously very big, it looks like a big plant. However, if we follow it and look for its origin, we are going to find it comes from the joint between the center stem and petiole. When we see the fruits produced in this branch, we may question why we shouldn't keep more growing tips like this and have a bigger plant for more harvest. The problem is tomato plants are producing these new growing tips everywhere. When the plant becomes too dense, it won't have good ventilation, which is bad for plant disease control. Disease control is a big topic, we will discuss it in separate videos. It will also compete with each other for sunshine and end up with less tasty fruit. My practice is to keep 2 or 3 growing tips for each plant. Each growing tip is circling the supporting rope hanging from the beam above. After all, tomatoes belong to a kind of vein. It is also manual work to bend the stem around this rope. For this fruit-bearing branch, I prefer to remove the tip. Otherwise, this branch will become longer and longer as a new growing tip. When the tomato close to the center stem is mature, the new flowers may have just been pollinated. The nutrient and water supply is going way too far in this branch. We want tasty fruit, right? There is another problem happening in the fruit-bearing branches. Let's find a tomato variety producing bigger ones. Check out the problem for this cluster. There are 6 or 7 tomatoes, all from a single branch. They will double the size and weight in a few weeks and turn red. It already shows the sign of a broken branch. The even worse thing is that the weight of these lower fruits have torn the branch in the middle. Such wounds are a bad thing we want to avoid in disease control. Bacteria and fungus may find their way to attack the plants. We will discuss the diseases, pest control, and other plant biology in more detail in other videos. I will use a rope to provide some external support, otherwise the tunnels inside the stem, one for water and nutrients, one for glucose and amino acid, won't have a smooth flow. Another easy work which only takes a second to do is to remove these lower yellow leaf branches. Here is a new growing tip. Let me remove it. This leaf is completely yellow. It is the second leaf in this plant, very early. Its nitrogen might have been deprived by other leaves. Also it is low, therefore being lack of sunshine and not enough ventilation, closer to the ground where the fallen leaves are distributing fungus spores by wind. After all, these leaves are old too, like a used engine. I try to find time and clean the floor to reduce the source of fungus spores. These bok choy are growing way too old, they are flowering. The taste becomes bitter and harder. I should have harvested them earlier for food. For now, the only use is to keep growing and produce seeds. The same thing happens to these lettuce, they are flowering too. For the seedling maintenance, another part of the maintenance, we can find these seedlings are tall and spindly. That's not ideal, because we want strong plants. If we don't move them to either soil or hydroponic equipment, with enough space to grow, they are competing with each other for sunshine, noticing they are all growing straightly upward, because that's the shortest path to get more sunshine. I have an even better example of insufficient sunshine intensity. We may say an even worse example. This area was originally designed to grow pumpkins. Here is a plant, under the shadow of a big apple tree. It works a long way before it reaches some sunshine. For that height, sadly there aren't many layers of leaves, in another word, the internode distance is large. Same problem is happening in this neighboring plant. Though it starts to produce fruit, there is not enough sunshine, therefore not enough photosynthesis, not enough glucose. The last category of regular maintenance is regarding the pumpkin. For some unknown reason, I don't see enough bees flying around as pollinators. For tomatoes, they are self-pollinated. But these pumpkins need me to hand-pick the male flower and transfer the pollen to the female flower. Wish everyone happy gardening.